All right, welcome everyone. That was Kings of Leon, the artist, with the two songs Closer and Revelry. So let's take a look-see here. So the first song, Closer, stranded in this spooky town, stoplights are swaying and the phone lines are down. Floor is crackling cold. She took my heart, I think she took my soul. With the moon I run, far from the carnage of the fiery sun. So this is the fallen state of man, stranded in this spooky town, this world of deception and death and lies, and stoplights are swaying, not solid, not consistent. And the phone lines are down. Our connection is down. The floor is crackling cold as we have stepped away from the warmth of the sun. And she took my heart. I think she took my soul. So who's she? She is so the feminine energy is what both lifts us up and what brings us down. She is the chaos to throw in the mix. So in this instance, she is representing the inverted feminine, or the downward pull, the temptations of, you could view it as like the Babylon whore. She took my heart, I think she took my soul. So us falling into temptations. With the moon I run. So another name for the moon is sin. So the moon represents this potentially chaotic cycle. It doesn't have to be, but that's what it's referring to here, at least as far as I see. And far from the carnage of the fiery sun. So we're just like, we just like Adam and Eve walked away from God in shame. We step away from the sun, SUNSON, and that's how we fall. So far away from the carnage of the fiery sun, the truth that we don't want to acknowledge. Driven by the strangle of vain. It says vain, EIN. It could easily be AIN, and either way it works. So of vanity, driven by the strangle of vanity, or the strangle of, if it is vein, like blood vein, then it could be physicality, maybe. I think vain fits, like vanity fits better. Showing no mercy, I do it again. Open up your eyes. You keep crying, baby, I'll bleed you dry. Skies are blinking at me. I see a storm bubbling up from the sea. So again, just singing about the fallen state, showing no mercy, I do it again. So we're still falling. Open up your eyes. You keep on crying, baby, I'll bleed you dry. So just this fall into decadence and temptation, and the skies are blinking at me. I see a storm bubbling up from the sea. So the chaos continues to, as we fall into more discordance, then creation has no choice but to reflect that back to us. Everything is a reflection of our internal state. So if we're in a chaotic and falling state, then the world will reflect that. But I see a storm bubbling up from the sea, and it's coming closer. It's coming closer. So what storm, Mr. President? You shimmy shook my bone, leaving me stranded all in love on my own. Do you think of me? Or am I now, baby? Where do I sleep? Feels so good, but I'm old. 2,000 years of chasing taking its toll. So that's what really solidifies what the song is talking about, where it says 2,000 years. And we've been in this age of deception for, it's really hard to say, but a lot of people reference 2,000 years as that. So that's what they're referencing here. 2,000 years of chasing, taking its toll, of where we've been falling and chasing our tail, but it's coming closer, as in the awakening, the shift, the storm. What storm, Mr. President? You'll find out. So it's coming closer 4 times, the fourfold nature of man. So yeah, that's Closer by Kings of Leon. And I should mention that both of these songs, and the two I'm going to play us out with, are from their album Only by the Night. So just more pointing to the sort of divine message within, and Only by the Night is in only via going within in meditation and connection with the divine. At least that's what I see. So then the next song, Revelry. So what is revelry? Revelry is like a loud, it's usually used to describe like parties with lots of drinking, and it can be celebration, though it can also be like it can also be used to describe like hedonism or just pleasure for the pursuit of pleasure. I kind of go back and forth as far as what it's referring to here, but we'll get into it. So what a night for a dance. You know, I'm a dancing machine with the fire in my bones and the sweet taste of kerosene. So the fire is that chrism oil, that, and the kerosene, both being that that Christic oil within us. Do you have oil in your lamp? So rising that fluid up and igniting, you know, and it's a very sexual, very heat intensive energy, and it's very challenging to gracefully raise it without spilling it or so this is what I see here. What a night for a dance, as in like the Kundalini, Ida and Pingala dancing together. I get lost in the night so high, don't want to come down. So in the night, in our meditations, in our connection with God, we get so high, we don't want to come down to face the loss of the good thing that I have found. So that's the sort of bittersweet layers of connecting with the divine. Is it's not, well, I should say it's very challenging to maintain stability with that divine connection at all times. So for most, it's very fleeting. It comes and goes. And so that's what I see him saying here, to face the loss of the good thing that I have found. And then in the dark of the night, I can hear you calling my name. So Christ or God calling our name. With the hardest of hearts, I still feel full of pain. So in our fallen state, having built all of these egotistical barriers around us, which served a purpose to protect us to some degree, but it's also hardened our hearts and dulled our connection. So I drink and I smoke and I ask you if you're ever around. So we go into that sort of fuck it mode, and we're like, well, I'll just drink and smoke and ask if you're ever around, even though it was me who drove us right in the ground. So God never left us. We left. We chose to leave. And there's nothing wrong with that. And we can't actually leave, but we can pretend to. And that's what created this whole experience. So there and back again, A Hobbit's Tale. See, the time we shared, it was precious to me, but all the while I was dreaming of revelry. So that's where I'm saying you could look at this in a couple different ways, but the time we shared, it was precious to me. So when we're in that stillness, in that connection point, it was precious, but all the while I was dreaming of revelry. So the ego was, perhaps it's saying the ego was driving me to join in the noise and the partying and sort of abandoning that stillness and silence. Maybe. Or it could be referring to revelry and drinking, as in like libations and the sacred fluids within us. So maybe it's referring to that. But I'll just leave that there. Born to run, baby, run like a stream down a mountainside. With the wind in my back, I won't ever bat an eye. Just know it was you all along who had a hold of my heart, but the demon in me was a best friend from the start. So a tale as old as time, this angel on your right shoulder, devil on your left, and it's all you. There's no external entity. It's merely the connection with God, or drifting away, or appearing to, at least. So just know it was you all along who had a hold in my heart, as in our connection with Christ or God. But the demon in me was a best friend from the start. So our ego, our sense of separation, which again is necessary. It's necessary for us to have that so that this experience exists. But the problem is sinking too far into that. And then we lose or at least for a time, we lose ourselves. So the time we shared, it was precious to me, and all the while I was dreaming of revelry. So again, repeating there. And I told myself, oh, the way you go, it rained so hard, it felt like snow. Everything came tumbling down on me. In the back of the woods, in the dark of the night, paleness of the old moonlight, everything just felt so incomplete. Dreaming of revelry. So I told myself, oh, the way you go, it rained so hard, it felt like snow. So when we start to lose that connection, everything came tumbling down on me. Our world starts to fall apart. In the back of the woods, in the dark of the night, paleness of the old moonlight. So again, pointing to the moon as sort of indicating a more fallen or chaotic state. Everything just felt so incomplete. So dreaming of revelry. And again, like this could be going deeper into the fallen state, or it could be coming out of it. And revelry could indicate either. So yeah, that is, again, Kings of Leon with the songs Closer and Revelry. So I hope you enjoyed that. And thanks everyone for being here today. Happy almost Independence Day for Americans, and really for everyone, because this has been the bastion of hope, the place in this 2,000 plus years of just beating us down every which way. This has represented a last light to hold on to. And so if America falls, so does the world. So it's an important day. And it's pretty exciting. You know, the Trump just passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, which I know a lot of people in the community are kind of maybe discouraged by the lack of severity to what this means. But it's pretty massive as far as looking at it from a matrix perspective. And so that's what everything is doing, is it's shifting us, albeit a little bit more slowly than maybe sometimes we like at times. But that's what's necessary in order to give everyone an opportunity to come clean and to realize. So the system that we were told about and that we were fed to buy into, we were sold essentially. They know, those who seek to control, they know that they can't. It's like slowly boiling the frog or whatever, you know, it's kind of a weird analogy, but they can't do it all at once in order to implement these evil plans of control and domination. So it is a slow stepping stone to get there. And they have to sell it in ways to make it appealing for us to buy into the system. So the system has lots of things built in place that are, you know, maybe not completely beneficial, but largely beneficial and can be quite helpful in a lot of ways. But the problem is that these entities were slowly bringing us away from the positive benefits and only exposing us to the vice grip, the degradation of society and us as a culture. So what's happening now is all the mechanisms of society are being shifted back to their positive side. You know, it's not perfect. And at the end of the day, we've got to get rid of the system completely. But in the meantime, while it's still there, it's going to be used for good. So people aren't going to be so burdened by the conditions of this reality. And so that's what Trump is doing in so many ways. And I think we're going to continue feeling the positive effects of these things, all up until the point where the big crescendo happens, which could still be any moment. But until then, it's working people up to that idea that the system could still be good, you know, like, so it gets people to question, like, oh, well, why, if this was so simple for him to come in and clean this up and lower prices and get rid of our debt and all of these kind of things, well, why wasn't that done before? Why were we living in such squalor and difficulty for so long. So that's another awakening point for people to realize, like, wow, we were giving faith to these people that were just wolves in sheep's clothing, and they were taking advantage. So that's where I see this shifting now, and it's interesting to watch. And you know, like I mentioned, it could easily ramp up very quickly, and it could also take a bit longer. So I'm not. I've stopped playing the date game a while ago, because it does seem to be this continually evolving, moving, shifting plan, you know, and for good reason. For good reason, to give more people an opportunity to make it through it, to reduce the casualties as much as possible. That is the one of, if not the primary objective of this Great Awakening and shifting us through that, because it's going to happen one way or another. There's nothing can stop what is coming. So if you just let it happen, then it's a lot more chaotic and a lot more deadly. So doing it in this controlled demolition kind of way, a smooth transition into the new system, helps more people to make it. So just a reminder there. And yeah, I don't have much announcements today, other than just to remind everyone that I am donation supported. So if you do enjoy the things that happen here in the space and the content that I put out, here's a way that you can support me. I've been meaning to add a couple more options here. But if you do have ways that you'd like to contribute and they're not listed here, just let me know, and I'm sure we can figure something out. And thank you to all who do help. And and if you're unable to support financially, then there are plenty of other ways that you can help out. If you have suggestions on ways that you can donate your time to help out with things, whether that's writing notes or timestamps or creating small clips or things from these longer shows, that's really appreciated and always accepted. So feel free to reach out to me if that's an interest of you. And then just sharing the work is very helpful as well. So thank you to all who do that. And we'll just keep on keeping on in this way. And so that's about it. Just to mention that. So this is Quest-i-on, the quest to turn the single eye on, the quest I am on, the quest we are all on, of asking that initial question of who am I? What is this? And that led us down this whole self-discovery journey of creating an entire experience for us to pretend that we're different so that we can see each other from infinite vantage points. So that was all an initial question. So by being in that quest-like state, the question state, then we're embodying our sort of original catalyst that brought us into this. And that energy is massive within creation. So when we are open, when we have this state of openness, and that's why I like to still use that Matthew 7:7 reference, because it's all about, that's really the only action that we need to take, is being open, surrendering to and allowing to receive. So that's what these shows can represent, as an opportunity for us to ask questions and see what comes up, and go over any topics. And there's nothing that is off limits or off the table. Everything is welcome to be shared or asked. And I do love to give priority to those who are here live on the show. So if at any point you want to ask a question or even just chime in with information that you have, it's an open discussion. So feel free to just hit your center button that raises your hand, and then you're welcome to jump in and ask. And I see Teresa M has a question. Go ahead, sister.
Hi, Justin. Oh.
Hey, Teresa. We can hear you.
Okay. I'm glad you started off with that. My question is, what type of government do you think we might have in 10 years? I mean, I know this is about spiritual, but we have so many paths, so many things going on. Do you think we'll have more representatives because of Article the First, our first right? or less?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's hard to pin down what exactly it'll look like in 10 years, but I'll just loosely show a trajectory that will be going. Every form of government that exists from here on out is working itself out of a job. So every layer of government that we have is going to be continually refining and dissolving the need for government. I don't know how long this process will take. I don't know. And as I've mentioned before, I feel like various regions will try different things. And it's wonderful for us to have the opportunity to shift and try out different ways of organizing and whatnot. But we have to remember that government itself, our belief in authority, the Larkin Rose most dangerous superstition, the belief in authority, the belief that somebody else has authority over you and your life in any way, that is the most dangerous superstition. It leads to all the problems that we face. So as we shift and move through, every layer is going to be eradicating itself. So we're already seeing that with what Trump is doing now with Doge and all the cuts that are happening, and just really exposing all the just waste, fraud, and abuse as he continues to reiterate. So that's giving us a taste of how much it can be cut right away. And there's no limit to how much it can be cut. So eventually, so that's kind of the trajectory. And then the end state, which I still absolutely love Darth's presentation on Q-based metaphysics, how we got flipped upside down, which was his first presentation that he gave. If you haven't watched it or haven't watched it in a while, highly recommend it. And in that, he goes over how the only form of government that we should really have is the family. So, and I'm not saying we're going to immediately jump to that reality, and we can't really. That would be a bit too chaotic. People are too acclimated to relying on government in this state, and will be for some time. So I'm not saying that we'll jump to that immediately, but whether that takes 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years for us to shift to where family is really the only recognized form of government, that's what we'll move towards. And it doesn't mean that families can't cooperate and have alliances and communities and work together for common goals and all of these different things. But no family has authority over another family to do that. And even within the family, everyone within that household has the freedom to participate with the family or to leave. So it's just everything will shift to a volunteerism. So the only way that any system or anything, and systems are tricky. Systems can turn into monsters very quickly. So we have to, with that same knowledge of the belief in authority being the most dangerous superstition, we have to recognize that systems, while they can be helpful in the interim, they leave room for this superiority complex and this authority to be driven and commanding other people to do this or that. So just to expand on the family model, it's kind of like, of course, we've been lied to about so much of our history, but there's often a portrayal, a representation of the feudal period as if this was a bad thing to have. But really, this was a pretty ideal model to have a central family that everyone within that community recognizes as their spokesperson and their central, not necessarily having authority to mandate other people do things, but just a general leadership position. And so that's the kings and queens, and they're highly respected and well loved by the people. But the people always should have a method to remove or to step away. If there's a consensus, hey, this king or queen is not doing what we want, then we shift. We shift, and whether that's a collectively shifting the king and queen out of that environment, or a specific family choosing to leave because their ideals are not being followed within that community space. So when you have an entire world with nearly unlimited resources, everyone's going to have so much access to do things. Moving is not going to be this monumental, even deadly process. Whereas right now, we're so afraid of being ostracized or exiled, or doing anything to upset the community, because we still have this fear of death from being exiled, from leaving a community or moving anywhere. It is inherently riskier. But when everyone has resources and the ability to shift and move, it's not going to be so daunting. So you're in a community of other families, and the general vibe of that community starts to shift, and maybe they start, whatever the case may be. Maybe they decide that they want to continue eating meat or whatever. And you're just like, I don't really vibe with this any longer. Well, you've got tons of resources to go pick up and find a community of people and other families to link up with that are aligned with your vision and what you want. And so naturally through that process, the best ideas will rise to the surface as far as like how to build communities, how to set up organizing structures within, bylaws and shared principles and things of that nature. And I'm sure we'll have lots of mistakes as well. We'll have lots of areas where it's not so smooth, and those are extremely helpful as well. Learning through contrast is very powerful. So either which way, we're going to learn through this. The best ideas will rise to the surface. And even just the natural laws of creation, if people choose to engage with, any practices that is not aligned with natural law, then creation has a way of just, okay, well, you're choosing the death path. And so it might take a generation or two, or maybe several, before everything has balanced out, if people are still stubborn and set in the old ways and trying to hold on to the old world and the dog eat dog reality. And I don't think people will, but if people choose to, then I'm sure there will be regions where people can go to and go have your Sodom and Gomorrah experience. And just like in the biblical tale, they eventually fall. So everything will naturally work out. So we don't have to like enforce everyone to do everything. Of course there's larger, more, what we might describe as like evil acts against large groups of people, taking advantage of others. That's always going to be, that will be our target, and that will be swiftly removed as we need to. And I have been told that to get used to a consistent military presence, not under the control of any particular government or group, but a military aligned with the sole purpose of eradicating evil wherever it shows up. So that will help to prevent any pockets of hedonism to develop into something where that harm, what might have started as self-inflicted harm, turns into harm committed on others. And so we'll have mechanisms in place to stop that. And like I said, it's going to take time for us to get used to it. But that's what I see as the evolution, moving away from any idea of centralized authority, control. We can have central figures and central communicators and central leaders and organizers, but just without such a inherently given authority to those figures. I mean, they might have the appearance of authority because if somebody's good and we enjoy what they're doing, we can give them the opportunity to keep moving forward in the best interest of everyone or whomever they're working with. But it's not guaranteed. So if whomever that is starts to fall into corruption, well, then then the power ceases. So power is only going to be vested in those who are aligned with goodness. So God will be at the center of it all. So yeah, that's kind of generally what we'll move to. And then in the short term, like I mentioned, I think we'll just see the devolution of this old system and the way the government was set up. And I do think that the Law of War manual will be put into effect. It already has been, but at least where the public can see it, to where the military will fill all bare bones positions within a government so that it doesn't fall into instability and chaos. And then we get to decide what we do. So do we want to keep these positions? Do we want to keep the justice system in the way that we have it? Do we want to start shifting into others? And every region is going to decide on their own. As long as it doesn't infringe upon the rights of somebody else, then we're free to move about and organize as we see fit. So yeah, it's going to be wild to witness. It's going to be wild to see that develop, but very exciting. Very, very exciting. So yeah, I'll just pause there and pass it back to you.
Well, you're making me realize I should probably read the Law of War manual, huh?
It is helpful to see, because it just defines what the military does in case of a foreign takeover within a country. So it just outlines specifically how the infrastructure is set up in the meantime. And as I mentioned, it's already been done, but we haven't really acknowledged it at this point. So it'll just be more openly that the military is standing in as that placeholder while we figure out what to do next.
So you don't think there will be elections? I mean, I have a lot of dumb questions, I guess. There won't be elections in the future?
That's definitely not a dumb question. So again, we're going to have to decide. And I feel like elections are a great way to have the people choose who they want to represent them and who they want to act in those leadership positions. But it's just going to be without this, now you're in office, so you get to do whatever you want and screw over the people. And like these career politicians and how the system is set up now, that won't happen. So you can be, I see an ideal system of you can be voted in very quickly to fill a position, but you can also be voted out just as quickly if you're not serving the people in that way. So power back to the people, as Trump says. And as far as the nuances and details of how we do it every step of the way, I can't say with certainty. It'll just be continually evolving as we see fit.
Okay, I'll go back and listen to this again, but thank you. That was great.
Yeah, you're so welcome, Teresa. It's good to hear from you. And great question. So yeah, anyone else want to jump in? Got anything that's on your mind, experience to share, something that's come up, revelation you've had, challenging moment you've been experiencing? Anything is very welcome. Or more thoughts on that topic. So I'll just pass it off. All right. Well, I've got a few written questions to go over, so we'll do those. So this one is from Beck S. And she said, do you think we will need passports for much longer? Which is, kind of in alignment with this last question. And so that one what I've been told is that get used to at least in the meantime, as we're sort of doing this deep cleanse of any evil pockets throughout the world, get used to a benevolent 1984 scenario, which if you haven't read that book, it just describes a society where everything is monitored, everything is watched, and all passages is known, and anyone moving about is known. So get used to that, except instead of the way the book describes of it being an evil plot to enslave, it's simply a mechanism to eradicate evil. So wherever it pops up, I know, and they've had this technology for a long time, and I imagine they've already been using it at border crossings. But to have a frequency device that can measure whether you have chaotic or ill intent within your being, it's going to register as a completely different frequency than someone who does not have that. And so if you have all border crossings with this device, then anyone who flags that gets pulled aside and investigated. What's going on? Like what's happening? Why do you have this potential? Because it's essentially like a potential to cause harm. Doesn't mean it has happened, but the potential is there. There's a level of instability that can lead to harm. So will we need passports? I don't see it as being as much a passport anymore, other than it's just your signature. So we each have a frequency signature that we emit, and I believe this is how passwords are going to be set up. This is how our finances are going to be used, is so nothing can be stolen or because everyone's going to have this locked in frequency that's you, and you don't need to carry around a card or papers or anything in that capacity, because it knows you. You have that unique signature. And so that's going to take the issues out of travel and all of these things out of it, because we don't have to worry about, as long as we're not doing anything wrong to harm people or whatever, then travel will be very smooth and easy flow. But for those trying to commit evil, it's not going to work. Don't be evil after the EBS was a quote that was reiterated many times. So evil is not going to have a place to sit. It will not have the opportunity to stay active in that way without being caught. So that will, but I don't know how long that process is going to take. I feel like it'll be pretty fast, because the passport system is not that great anyway. So I feel like if that's all ready to go, I could see that happening within a year or two after the big pop, after the big crescendo where full disclosure happens and all of that. But the time it takes to get there, still up in the air. Is it definitely sooner rather than later, but how soon, I'm not sure. So yeah, that's on passports. Great question back. And I will just pass it back and see if anyone else wants to jump in. All right. Teresa, did you have something else? Your mic is open.
Well, yeah, I can ask another question, maybe.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Do you have any idea if the MedBeds are getting close to being released?
Yeah, so what I've been told about MedBeds is largely that is a buzz term that doesn't have a lot of substance to it. Now, I'm not saying that healing technologies don't exist and that we will continue to have a massive amount of healing technologies available to us, as all patents that have been under lock and key, restricted and kept away, bought by Big Pharma and anyone who wants to keep health away from us. So those will all become available, and then we'll get to create these technologies that haven't already been created. I'm sure many have. But what I've been told about the term MedBed specifically is that's a buzz term that's often used by people who are just after clout or followers. So it's a word that gets thrown around, and all of a sudden you have a lot more people paying attention, and then people make these bold claims about what they do, and oh, they've seen it themselves, and all these different things. But most, if not all of them, are lying. They're making it up, or just jumping on the bandwagon in that way to review these things. So I don't put a lot of stock in the term MedBed. I'm sure there will be devices that, because it's got such notoriety, I'm sure there will be plenty of things that are called that. But as far as as far as the buzz that those things create, I don't really buy into them that much. And also, like, we are only going to be capable of healing ourselves as much as we are capable of being healed. If we are still full of toxins and other things within our system, going through some type of severe cleaning can be detrimental and even deadly. It's like fasting, for example. Fasting is one of, if not the most effective way we can heal ourselves. And it doesn't require anything. It doesn't require any money. It doesn't require you to go anywhere. But if someone is full of toxins and they just immediately jump to fasting, the toxic overload from what's released within their system can be detrimental, can be deadly. So any healing technology would operate in the same way. It's just using, a lot of them typically use frequencies to stimulate the cells to release the toxic shit, and then you have to get it out of your body. And so if your body is not capable of getting it out fast enough, then you're accumulating toxins from areas where your body was used to dealing with those toxins to new areas. And that can be very, very harmful. So I also don't do too much into the MedBed idea, because to me, it takes away from the importance of our work and what we need to do. And I'm not saying that about you at all, because I know you're very healthy and how you move through things. And there are instances and cases, people coming from the military and whatnot, where injuries and accidents have happened that are outside of health and what we do to ourselves. But just in general, it seems to be that idea is latched onto by those who don't really want to do any work on cleaning up their system, don't really want to shift their ideas around the toxic garbage that they eat all the time, and just want some quick fix idea to buy into so that they don't have to do that. Maybe the things will work to some degree, but natural law doesn't really work well with the quick fixes. The short-term fixes have a track record of being long-term detrimental. So it really is something to note in that sense. And so again, that's why I don't really go too much into the MedBed stuff myself, because it seems to just be a cop-out for people to again, I'm not speaking about you, but just in general, to be a cop-out to not doing the work and not addressing the things within their body, and not using what we have available to us right now to address things. So as with anything, it's all about balance. And like I said, we'll have plenty of these healing technologies to use, and it will help many people to kickstart their health journey and start moving through things. But if someone is expecting to continue eating donuts and bacon and all sorts of garbage and just be healed by a MedBed and then go back to eating all that toxic garbage, well, I can guarantee you won't last very long. That's just the way that it works. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts there on that one, and I'll just pass it back to you.
It's always good to hear your perspective. I guess a lot of us are probably always hoping for the MedBeds, for that quick fix for the relative that has cancer, or any leukemia, or any of those bad issues. So it's okay. I'm glad I heard that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. And yeah, we have a lot of compassion for those around us that we see that are suffering and in pain, and we, at least it's helpful for me to remember, not with any not taking away the compassion or any of that, but to remember that everything is cause and effect in this creation. So our choices, even if we didn't know we were making these choices, I mean, we do to some extent. We chose to ignore our body. We chose to ignore the signs. Cancer is like the last thing that the body goes to before death. So that to get to cancer, it means that the signs up to that point have been so largely ignored, and the shifts have been bypassed. You know, the screams and beggings of our body to say, hey, please stop doing this. I cannot handle this level of toxicity that you continue throwing at me. And we ignore that. So, you know, not to be harsh or rude, but it's we've earned all of this. And so that's yeah, that's a part of it as well. But I appreciate the question, and yeah, it's a good thing to get into. So thank you for that one as well. And yeah, I will just pass it back and see if I see Tracy's on. Go ahead, Tracy.
Hey there, everybody. How's it going? I forgot to set my alarm, but I still woke up. I was like, oh, I'll take a look at my phone. It's like almost 10 to 4 in the morning. I'm like, completely forgetting that you're on, because I don't know, I'm still not quite settled, and days I don't know what fucking day it is. Anyway, but, so I saw you were on. I was like, okay, anyway, so to this topic. So there is, and has been, but it seems to be a little bit more where the tone of people asking for the med beds over on X. So I see, some kind of names that I'm not going to mention any, but people that are getting, the tone has changed where they're demanding the med beds. And I get it, like what you're saying. If people have come to a point where they've got now a serious, very serious, life-threatening illness, and or cancer of some form, which would be, I have absolutely a great compassion and empathy for anyone who is in that or has a beloved family member, but I do understand now, like you've said here, with all due respect, cause and effect, and what we have, a lifetime of, like hopefully if it's an adult that I'm referring to here, not children, because that is absolutely heartbreaking and tragic to have a child who has a life-threatening illness come upon them. So if any family is dealing with that, like, all my love absolutely goes out to anyone. But the tone of people demanding the med beds, that, like, the sort of, like, I get the people that are, if you will, people in military, people that are actively in an active theater of war or something like that, and the protocol that happens for type of injuries or illness that would come about with someone who's active in military, and what we've seen, what's priority, who is priority, and whatever people in the region that they're either rescuing or trying to take down. The humanitarian side of it for treatment has always been priority to anybody who is in harm's way, has been harmed and or ill, and they're treated, with priority, in a prioritized way. So, but the tone, and I want to be careful how I say this as well, is that I have felt that as well, as they could say, sort of, some people are asking in ways and sort of demanding, like, come on, we've done X, Y, and Z for this movement, so why is this being held back specifically for us? And I just, I don't go in and make any comments. I'm supportive of people wanting to wanting to see, whatever type of opportunities they can have come to them sooner rather than later. Like I get that there's people that are in sort of a desperate way of whatever stage they're at within an illness. So they're sort of it appears there's like a desperation, which I can imagine would be a horrible position to be in. I myself, I've shared very openly about health issues and whatnot, and chronic pain and illnesses and stuff like that. So I get what dealing with suffering is like. I get it. However, I know that I'm still walking and talking, still being able to breathe and live. However, debilitating my situation can be at times. But I've seen that personally for myself. If I didn't make changes, if I didn't make the changes that I learned about through all of this, it hasn't been that long for me. Now this summer will be, like 2 full years off of animal products. So I'm really new at this. I can't say that. Yeah, I'm still very new at this experience. But if I hadn't made those changes, knowing what I've been dealing with my health, I can only imagine where I'd be right now, with sort of the amount of stress that I would be building in my life because of my choices. But then the stress of knowing, being part of the movement and whatnot, and knowing what's going on, and sort of the accumulative effect of time involved, lack of resources, or lack of sleep, higher stress levels that could lead to the body breaking down more too. So I shudder at the thought of, if I had not made the choices that I made. I'm so grateful that I did. Yes, it's a better position that I'm in now than I was 2 years ago, for sure, but I still have a long way to go. I'm still got a long way to go, which I know that. So, but I'm just so grateful at what I have chosen so far. But it's still a choice every day. Yeah, I haven't had a perfect track record for sure of, still indulging in some types of, air quote, poisonous foods, if you will. But I'm doing so much better. And I hope that for others as well, that they can actually make those shifts and make those choices, because ultimately that is what it comes down to. So if you are, there's various people in the movement that have been, I've known from sort of the beginning of, let's just using the first Trump presidency as a time marker, if you will. So that kind of that long. And so people that have, this information's out there, but still I see others still choosing the conventional, if you will, the traditional ways of dealing with various cancers and stuff like that. Still having to be within big pharma. You might, there are some testimonials over there on X of people using the some of the latest things, ivermectin, and being and the protocols of that, dealing with cleansing parasitic growth and even cancers. So there's been some pretty amazing testimonials. I don't want to go into whether they're true or not, whether they're legitimate or not, something like that. But that's you do hear that. You do hear people making that choice. You do see that. So that is something that I pray for. I do actively pray for others to have the courage to try to make better choices for themselves. Because there's so many reasons why people have had to still maybe choose, big pharma choices or chemotherapy treatments, and these, what we know are absolutely horrific and barbaric. But other people, some people have had, whatever reasons, have had to choose that still. So anyway, but it is a, it's a really harsh reality And I just, I'm striving for myself, and I'm actively praying for others to keep striving for themselves as well. Like you said, being too reliant on it, like this expectation. So there is that. There's like, I've whether these med beds do what they even sit, these so-called claims, and what's been promoted for, like, there's even a crazy Australian lady that has actively done live streams and I, in my opinion, is completely lying and saying that she's completely involved and she's getting all this information from the military and just has strung people along and made, like what we say, like kind of patriots, if you will, the patriots that have profited off of supposed access to promoting other people, getting people all, giving people this false hope, which however, wherever the technology is, it would be amazing if it could be implemented in some way to help humanity at large. Obviously. So, but like you said, that expectation of it is there. I see that. There's this, and now there's almost turning into resentment that, oh, you're withholding this from us. That's awful. That kind of accusation is sort of starting to be, which I've seen some people, in their comments. I don't go too in depth in reading the comment sections, but just to get a sort of temperature of where the room is at. So I do a little bit, but yeah, there's always people that would be, feeling in such a desperate way that they it turns into resentment. Like, well, why aren't you helping me? You've got the technology. Now you're holding back. Aren't you just as bad as the cabal and bad as the deep state for this type of manipulation or this type of control or whatever? So it's going to turn into that at this point. But yeah, so I pray for anybody who's in need of some external help. But ultimately, yeah, it really comes down to, so like I said, so many changes have to be done. If you're expecting to use the med bed, but then not even alter anything that you're doing. So there's so much. Yeah, there's so much that needs to be done here, but it really does all come down to the individual. So I pray for people to gather that strength and that courage, and to be able to move forward and make all the changes they need, to be the better, healthier person that they want to be and desire to be. So thanks for that. And yeah, I'll pass it back.
Yeah, thanks for the input, Tracy. And while you were speaking, it reminded me of another reason why they can't release, if there are technologies like that, why there can't be some massive release and shift right now, because even doing something like that would destabilize the whole system that's largely based on big pharma and all of that. So they can't release these major things until it's ready, until the whole system is ready to come crashing down. Like that's why you look at silver prices. White hats are in control of suppressing the silver prices. The cabal used to suppress the silver prices, but now white hats are doing it because they know if they allowed silver to get to its true value, it would destabilize the financial system immediately. So healing technologies in that same sort of way would be very too destabilizing for society as we have it. And that's coming. That's absolutely going to happen, but you can't like partially do that kind of stuff. So you can't like release a whole wave of technology and then expect it to continue. Cause that's just, it's a slippery slope at that point. So yeah, that's another reason why it can't happen until it's all ready. So whatever it is going to be released, and that's what I was told, is it's going to be all the patents will just be released and we'll get to make them. And if we want to call them MedBeds, then we can. Yeah. Was there somebody else who wanted to jump in? Go ahead.
Hey, so I've done, when I've had the time, I've done quite a bit of research into MedBeds, and what I was made to understand is that the technology is very weaponized, and it's very easy to weaponize, because it has to do with entropy time based technology. So if you have the ability to reverse entropy in someone's body, then the understanding of that would be very easily applied toward increasing entropy on someone. So if you can make someone young again, then you can also make them very old. So the problem with releasing this knowledge is that the general state of mankind right now is not ready for it. In Star Trek, there's this concept called the Prime Directive. And what the Prime Directive is that you do not give technology to civilizations unless they develop it themselves. And they have to be to a sufficiently advanced state before you even want to discuss any sort of advanced technologies, because they'll just end up hurting themselves with it. So right now, we're still living even with all the work that the Q team has done, and even with all the advancements and progress that we've made, even in the last couple of years, people are still operating very much out of the fear aspect and the anger aspect and wanting revenge and thinking that they have to do things. And could you imagine if we released temporal based and entropy based technologies, and we just released it out into the wild? And I mean, for goodness sakes, you would have high schoolers going online to Amazon and buying a box full of electronics for, a couple $100 and building weapons of mass destruction. I mean, it's literally that easy. And the only reason why we don't have massive proliferation of weapons of mass destruction under the, $500, and you're able to build something that can take out an entire neighborhood, is because people don't know how. And so it's like a joke. If you don't want people stealing your jokes, don't say it. Because the second you say it and it's out there, then one person's going to tell another, and then there's no stopping it. So they cannot release it, even on the short scale, even just here and there, because it's just impossible to stop this sort of thing. And then next thing you know, you'll have all these kids that are very, very angry because they have suffered so much from the old system. And you'd have Jews killing Muslims and Muslims killing Jews, and, and all these different other religions. And not to mention the left here in America. And could you imagine them downloading temporal-based weapons off the internet and then going to the hardware store and buying a box of electronics and then building a weapon that can cause people to age extremely rapidly? So, because all it is a signal propagation. It's the correct combination of frequencies at the correct geometry, and then anything that's in that field either ages faster or ages in reverse. And that's all that it is. So it would be horribly, horribly irresponsible for the white hats to release age regression technology at this time, because mankind simply isn't mature enough. The Christic spirit hasn't yet spread enough. Once we've healed emotionally and once we've healed spiritually, then it would be very safe to release that technology. And at that point, people would start healing spontaneously anyway. But everything is unfolding exactly as it should. We're right on schedule. Everything is happening just the way it's supposed to. And when we finally get there, it's going to be better than, most of us can possibly imagine right now. But from the research that I have done into MedBed technology, it's just too easy to weaponize. And once it's out there, it's too obvious. So that's why they've been guarding that secret so carefully. It's for our own protection.
Yeah, that's such a great point. It's like, you don't give the toddler the matches because they could burn the house down, So these various tools or usings of our power, and there's technological power and then there's internal power, and both of them have to be earned. But the issue with technology is you can give technological power to people who have not earned their internal power. And that discrepancy is what causes that possibility. I don't remember where I heard this, but I heard something like a good status to see how mature a civilization is if every single individual in that civilization has the ability to wipe out the entire thing and chooses not to. So where every single person has the capability to wipe out the physical experience, and of course it would respawn. We'd have another one if that happened. But to get to that point, to where everyone has that capability and chooses not to. So you can just see that and see how far away we are from that reality to getting to that point. So we'll get there. We will move in that direction, but it is a gradual process for us to, learn how to build a fire and use it responsibly and not hurt ourselves and not hurt other people. And then we can master that tool. And then the tools are just pragmatically, incrementally advancing past that. So yeah, that's a great point and add on there too. So thank you for that. And I saw Liz Keller. You'd raise your hand. Go ahead, sister.
Oh, hey, Justin. It was completely an error, but I'm just super grateful to catch you guys live.
Oh, well, I'm glad for the error. I'm glad to hear your voice, and thanks for being here.
I was going to say, now, of course, because now that I am talking, I was just walking my dogs down by the river, and I'm off because tomorrow's the 4th, because I live in the Matrix, and it was the 4th of July, and I think it was 4 years ago, maybe 3, because time is standing still for me since March of 2020, that I spoke to you and Charlie on a live, and I was like, oh my God, it's happening again, because time is still standing still. So I'm just going to keep listening. I'm here with the dogs. You can probably hear them panting because it's 1,000,000 degrees here in Boston. But great show as always. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Liz. Good to hear from you. And yeah, always the time dilation or where it shifts from our perspective based on what's happening, but then those pivotal points and moments sort of snap us back into whatever has happened within that timeline. And then, yeah, so thanks for sharing that. And yeah, glad to hear from you. And yeah, I'll just pass it off and see if anybody else wants to jump in. Got any questions either on or chime in on these topics we've covered or take us a new direction? You're more than welcome.
Well, I would just like to say, because Liz just reminded me, yes, that it's July the 4th. And just as she was saying that, it was 4:44 a.m. And for her, maybe she's in New York in Eastern time, so it would be p.m. But 4:44 p.m. But I just want to say happy 4th of July, everybody. So I want to be the first one to say it because it's already July the 4th here. So happy 4th of July, everyone. I love you.
Thanks, Tracy. Yeah, happy 4th. Coming up soon. All right. Anyone else got anything they want to jump in with? All right. Oh, hey, Joe. Let me get your mic open. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Happy Independence Day as well. I just wanted to say that we finally got Matt a car last Friday. So we put that all behind us, or we thought to be all behind us. And then lo and behold, Justin says, oh, my credit card got charged some more tolls. Oh, goodness. I'm like, oh, that should be the end of it now. And yeah, Matt, I'm going to post in JC Family a picture of Matt with his car. He's very happy. He will say that he didn't admit to me right away that he was a little scared about driving. He was only feeling comfortable in my big SUV, which I get. And he didn't really say it until we were about to test drive this car. And I'm like, well, I get it. I completely get it. And you can drive my car as long as you like. He settled in pretty quickly, though, I must say. So that's good. And I just wanted to thank everybody for the gifts and go and all your well wishes and all your thoughts and prayers for as Justin and Matt both went through that. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. And that's behind us. And Matt has a car and he's happy and all is well. So, again, happy 4th of July. Independence Day to all, and thank you again, all of you. Very, very generous.
Yeah, thanks, Jill. Thanks for the update, and glad he's happy with his new vehicle. And yeah, what an experience! What an experience that was. I'm sure he won't forget it, and I certainly won't. But yeah, thanks for filling us in, and yeah, I really appreciate everyone who chipped in and helped out and just gave prayers through that whole experience. But, nobody was hurt, and it's just stuff, and stuff can be replaced as it is. So thanks, Jill.
Well, let me say one more thing. I'm not sure if you're feeling this, Justin. I'm sure, but Matt is actually the music that you were listening to, like, it's it's something. Obviously we all resonate with music at different times in our lives, but he's like, he can't listen to that right now either. Like he couples it together, he puts it, which is human nature, I'm sure, and that'll be another thing to get through. Like it reminds him of that. And I get it. I wasn't involved in it like the both of you were, but I'm sure you can understand what he's feeling, Justin. So again, he didn't tell me this for a couple of weeks, or maybe even actually a month, maybe now. But yeah, it's residual, I guess. But again, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the heads up there. And yeah, it's traumatic events can they are traumatizing, but they do help us to see areas within ourselves where we get to lift that up and move through it. So I know that he is, and I'll give him a call sometime soon, and we can talk more about it if he's open to that. But yeah, I know it can be challenging for sure. So thank you for sharing that, and we'll keep saying prayers for Matt. Yeah, does anyone else have anything they want to jump in with? New topic or on anything we've spoken of? Feel free. All right, this was a question from Darina, and she was asking about the phrase common sense. So I'll just read her question just so you get the full context. So she said, having recently watched for the first time Miracle on 34th Street, knowing it's very much a white hat creation with so much wisdom and clues, they mention a couple of times that faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to. I always thought that we the people needed more common sense, and in some respects I still believe we do need more common sense. However, now I'm starting to think that the meaning of common sense is not what I thought it was. Yeah, she continues, but I think you get the gist. So words are not always complete in describing things, and I would see common sense being referred to in this context in that movie as referring to the normal idiocy of people, just to put it very bluntly. Common sense when people are commonly holding beliefs that are nonsensical and false, then common sense is not really a good thing to follow, and faith would be stepping out of the left brain into the right brain and moving through that. So there's that layer to look at it, but in general, common sense doesn't need to be something that we abandon, because I'd like to create a world where common sense is good and loving and kind, where that's common, and truth is revered as important, and to where that establishes what common sense is, but never to the point where we abandon our own unique sense of what is right within ourselves. Because that's what allows, if we abandon that, then, and we just go along with whatever is common, then that's what allows us to fall into these patterns. But if we courageously step forward and say, no, this is wrong, I see something wrong with this, and I'm going to speak up about it no matter what happens, then we don't fall down this slippery slope. And so, yeah, just briefly, that's my take there. So they're referring to stepping out of the status quo of society and moving back to faith, back to our divine connection. So we're not just lemmings going around based on what somebody else does or what somebody else says. So yeah, that would be my take there on that one, but good question. And yeah, I'll pass it back and see if anyone else wants to jump in. All right. Well, here's another one. This one was from Freebird. And she sent me a video that has a bunch of celebrity lookalikes. So famous people from maybe different time periods or eras, some in modern times still, that look very, very, very similar to others within that space. And so she was asking what to make of it. And I would say that largely, creation, we have these like major kind of archetypes that continue showing up. So we are frequency slowed down to the appearance of solidity and physicality. We're these waves or vibrations. And if you look at that from a song perspective, like you've got all these different notes and ways to emit that frequency. Well, while you can infinitely divide the range of frequencies into smaller and smaller and more distinguished individual frequencies, largely there's going to be the 7 notes, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, or 8, the octave. So the archetypes are these major groupings of frequencies that show up. And this shows up in all different ways, but physical appearance is going to be that as well. So the assertion that this video is making, that these people are, sort of being replayed by whether it's the white hats or the black hats, the powers that be, or whomever, to have these same characters continually show up. It could be that these archetypes appear in that way and there is intention behind it. However, I lean more towards that there's not as much intention behind it. It's just the natural mechanisms of creation showing up. And so we're seeing the cyclical patterns happen again. So that's one layer to look at. But then also the fact that most of these people who've been working to bring us this good message, celebrities and those who are divine creators, they don't let out who their family members are. Because when you're playing this game and you're going against an evilly constructed system, well, not only are you at risk by doing that, but your entire family is at risk as well. So the more layers of obscurity between you and your true family members helps to protect others. So I don't doubt that many of these people shown are related, and that's why they have very similar features. So I would say it's a combination of that. And yeah, that's kind of just a simple simple take there. I don't get too deep in the weeds as some people do with saying, you know, we know there's a lot of people in masks, and there have been a lot of Trump. He still mentions central casting quite a lot. So there's a lot of that activity going on for sure. And I feel like people take it a bit too far with supposing that everyone everywhere is always in a mask and this or that. You know, I've been accused many times of being this or that, or having this mask on at that time, or showing up as this and that. And it's always disappointing when people do that, because it's like, I don't know, it's a mind game that sort of takes you away from the here and now. And so if you're always on this sort of like illusion of grandeur that everyone is this or that, then it takes you away from being here. And so again, it's all balance, right? So the middle is the truth. There is a lot of that happens. And I feel like some people take it a bit too far and too extreme with trying to peel away some larger, you know, like every character is meticulously placed there and planned out and put in that way. But what about divine organization? What if people are moved into particular spaces, or what if people look like others? Because the divine has a plan, and people don't need to be consciously intending to do these things or showing up in this way, but the divine's going to move them. To me, that's a much more magical and beautiful reality than just imagining that every single move is consciously scripted and written down. Now, again, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of it is, but I think that one of the most miraculous learnings that we have about this Great Awakening experience and all that's gone down through this plan, as this time period is studied meticulously for forever. I mean, really, this time period is going to be looked at every which way for a long time, as long as we can remember it. And I think the most beautiful thing that we'll discover is how little intervention between people there actually was. Of course, there would be some in some cases. There would be some military planning and movement and strategies and all of that. But I just know that there will be huge gaps of things that happened miraculously with no intervention, no speaking, no coordination on a physical level, yet simply the divine moving energy in a way to shift us into this Great Awakening. I think which will be undeniable evidence of divine influence. So to me, that's a much more beautiful thing to see and have unfold than viewing every single move and every single character as completely scripted and done in that way. So that's just my take there. But yeah, who knows? And I'm not tied to anything. It's I let go of whatever it needs to look like, and you know, because ultimately it's not really that important. If it's distracting you from your path and you aligning with the way, then it is part of that path to death and destruction. All distractions are. And I'm not saying that to invoke shame on ourselves when we enjoy distractions and move through things. But it is something to consider. If I'm spending too much time and effort on this theory or that decode or whatever, and I'm not really focusing on myself and my relationships and how I'm showing up, well, I'm kind of missing the message. I'm kind of missing what the Christ influence really is all about. So yeah, I will just leave that one there and pass it off and see if anybody else wants to jump in either on that topic or take us any which direction. All right. Well, that is the end of my written questions. So just again, if anyone feels inspired to jump in, give us a topic, and keep us going, that's great. If not, then we can certainly start winding down. I did have to leave a little bit early today anyway, so that works out if that is the case. But we do still have some time if anyone else has anything they want to jump in with, or a topic they want to cover or share they want to say. So I will just give a quick pause and see if anybody else feels inspired. All right. Well, let's take a look at the lyrics for the songs I'm going to play us out with. So 2 more songs by Kings of Leon. One of them is called Use Somebody. So I've been roaming around, always looking down at all I see. Painted faces fill the places I can't reach. So painted faces, perhaps the world of illusion. I've been roaming around the wandering path, wandering aimlessly, always looking down at all I see. So the downward fall, perhaps. Painted faces fill the places I can't reach. You know that I could use somebody. And I think that somebody is Christ. You know, use that divine inspiration, which the Christ is, to bring us back, to point our compass back home. So someone like you and all you know and how you speak. So again, just look at that from the perspective of the Christ. Countless lovers under cover of the street. This is just a big love story with us and ourselves, really. But the Christ is a big part of that loving influence. You know that I could use someone like you, Christ. Off in the night, while you live it up, I'm off to sleep, waging wars to shape the poet and the beat. So the Christ is always working on all of creation and everyone within it. So while you live it up, I'm off to sleep, waging wars to shape the poet and the beat. So molding society and creation and all of us in it through Christ influence and the Antichrist influence. You know, it's all there for us to either learn through contrast to what not to do, or figure it out and live harmoniously. Discord or harmony, the choice is ours. I hope it's going to make you notice. So to feel the Christic focus, which it's not external, it's you focusing on that energy and allowing it to rise within you. And so he clarifies that, you know, so he said, somebody like you, someone like you, someone like me, because you are the Christ. You just forgot. So someone like me. I'm ready now. 7 times, 7 chakras, 7 lights, 7 candles, 7 churches. Must all be lit. I'm ready now. Someone like you, 3 times. So 3, 7, and 3. So I've been roaming around, always looking down at all I see. So coming out of our fallen state and acknowledging that who we were looking for is you all along. So that's that song, Use Somebody. And then the last song, this one's probably, both of these songs are pretty popular. This one is their most popular. This one's called Sex on Fire, which of course we could look at it from a simple song about sex and sex, drugs, and rock and roll and all that good stuff. Or is the sex on fire, is that referencing this Christic flaming energy, the sacred sex of the masculine and feminine coming together, and the sparks that fly because of it? I see it as that. So lay where you're laying, don't make a sound. I know they're watching. They're watching. So this could be referring to that Kundalini energy within, that feminine spirit. Lay where you're laying, don't make a sound. I know they're watching. They're watching. So society has mechanisms in place to prevent the Christ from rising, and it tries to wipe out any semblance of that. So I know they're watching. They're watching. All the commotion, the kitty-like play. It has people talking. So the commotion, the kitty-like play, Christ said, only through the eyes of the child will you enter into the kingdom of heaven. So the kitty-like play, it has people talking, this Christ energy that starts to move. So your sex is on fire. That sexual energy within us. The dark of the alley, the breaking of day, head while I'm driving. So, you could look at that from like a fellatio perspective, head while I'm driving, or this is like head as in heaven, coming into the heavenly realms while I'm driving. So I'm not moving from the lower realms. I'm in the head. The dark of the alley, the breaking of day, all aspects of creation have the Christ within it. It's all based on that. Soft lips are open. Them knuckles are pale. Feels like you're dying. You're dying. So when we fall away from that influence, we are dying. But it also feels like you're dying because your ego has to die in order for you to have that awakening. And it's not a one-time thing. It is a continuous process. So we have to die in order to truly live. And we have to be ready to die continuously in order to truly live. Feels like you're dying. So soft lips are open, the reception, the surrender, the knuckles are pale, gripping tight, dedication, commitment. It feels like you're dying as in the ego dies. So your sex is on fire, consumed with what's just transpired. So transpired, the spiral within, consumed with what's just transpired. So that's another big clue that this is not just referring to some song about sex, or at least the animalistic primal sex. It does consume us with what's just transpired when we have these moments of realization and activation. We become consumed with what's just transpired. It's hot as a fever, rattle of bones. I could just taste it. So the libations within the sacred secretions, all the beautiful fluids that are released when we complete this process and maintain it if possible, becoming better and better at that. So I could just taste that drinks, the cup of everlasting life, the Holy Grail. If this not forever, if this just tonight, we're still the greatest. So it's not forever, because we go through the waves of falling in and out of love. But if this is just tonight, we're still the greatest. This is the greatest feeling, because your sex is on fire, consumed with what's just transpired. So yeah, those are the two songs there that we're going to close out with. And just want to say how much I appreciate everyone for chiming in today and being with us. And yeah, happy 4th for everyone. I will not be doing a watch party tomorrow. Trying to go catch a fireworks show in the area. So no watch party. But I hope everyone has a wonderful 4th, and we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll just be another day of regular fireworks, or maybe it'll be some exciting fireworks. More exciting. We'll see. I know Trump's on tonight at 8 p.m., I believe. So yeah, definitely things to pay attention to, but also just have fun, enjoy and be with those you love. So yeah, thanks everybody. I'm going to play these songs and close this out. I love you all so very much. Have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care, everyone.